Check, 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 check. All right, check, 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 check. Greetings, 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 and peace profound. Positive vibrations and positive sound. The chopping block is back in full effect. Tell a friend, tweet a friend, tell a friend we're on, we're live. Keisha Mack, I see you in the building. Oh, music not coming through? Arlene Kelly, I see you. Peter Wilson. Chris Dixon, greetings. Barbara Buchanan, big up yourself. Randall Thexter, welcome, sir. Mr. Delroy Dobney, big up yourself. Ray Willis, we see you in the house. Ray Williams, big up yourself. JJ Mack, welcome back. Checking for sound, guys. Nakisha, you know you rule the world, right? Showerific Chef, big up yourself. We have a full house tonight, right? So tell a friend, tweet a friend, tell a friend we're on. The chopping block is back in full effect. Grace Williams Bailey, I see ya. So we got Miss Nadine Spence. She's in the house. We got Hermelin all the way out of Texas by way of Grenada. She's in the building. And our own Mr. Daly. Mr. Daly is in the building. Big up yourself. Jennifer Bennett, big up yourself. Hopeton Cranston, big up yourself. So tell a friend, tweet a friend, phone a friend, call a neighbor, tell your sister, tell your uncle, auntie, nephew, niece. The chopping block is back in full effect. Tony Beckford, big up yourself. Dwayne, the great Banky, I see you. Chris Fung, big up yourself. Nakisha, go on. Domestic violence. Hot topic, right? But after all the loud noise, guys, what's next? Ask your neighbor, ask your friend, what's next? So like I said to you before, we have a full house, right? Joan, I see you. You're in the building. Andrew Edwards, you're in the building. Colleen Williams is in the building. Delroy Foot, I see you sliding through. Chris Dixon, big up yourself. So stick and stay. It's going to be a compact show. Lots of information. Great discussion. Looking forward to host you, right? Delroy Foot, good to see you, my brother. All right, so stick and stay. We're going to be right back, guys. When we get back, we're going to get right into the discussion. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
Hello? 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 Yeah, you. Hold on, and a pandemic winner. You're now wearing a mask, you're now washing your hand, and you now keep the required 6 feet distancing from other people. And what could I really cause you? You need to stop it. That no mask, no wash, and no distance something there, nah keep. You know what keep? COVID-19. Yeah, it not gone nowhere. COVID-19, they are same way. So here what you are going to do for all of we. Wear your mask, wash or sanitize your hands pan a regular, and yeah, keep your distance, please. And thanks.
Full of flavor, no if or no maybe. Malta, my crave on a daily. I couldn't ask for a better cold glass. Coffee can't pass from this. My Malta, my pocket with me. You know I got it with me. I feel have a buckle for myself. Yesterday the shop locked, so today me come back. 2 new flavors on the shelf. Me say me see it and me grab it and me love it and buy it. My mommy take it and she pull it and try it. She say Malta in the morning, afternoon or night. And she finish it, she don't need no help. Drink them all. Coffee or vanilla, the Jamaican original. Have it with me lunch or my dinner. Ginseng with the ginger, make you settle and you simmer. Good feed the baller and the singer. Make you feel good and it tastes real nice. Better when cool, so we put it on ice. Take a sip once, if you take a sip twice. Mother full of flavor for life. Mother full of flavor for life.
Hi, my name is Tanoya Boros, and together with my husband, Brenton, we started an online children's store called Shop 876 Kids. We pride ourselves in carrying the widest variety of children's items, including room decor, baby supplies, educational supplies, clothing, and every child's dream, the hottest and latest toys. Our ultimate dream for this business is to become the #1 resource for children items in Jamaica, and dare I say the Caribbean. But you know, they say if your dream doesn't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough. Through my research, I found out about Sagicor Bank Payment Gateway Solutions, and I used it for my business because they had the best rates, excellent customer service, and they are a safe and reliable platform for my customers to use. COVID-19 has certainly changed our lives, but out of adversity comes opportunity. Look at me, pharmacist turned web developer turned website owner. Look for that need and supply that service or product.
All right, so welcome, guys. Welcome. Greetings again, and peace profound. We have a very, very touchy topic this evening. We're looking at domestic dispute, domestic violence, and all that no good stuff. Recently, there's been a lot of outrage, not just in Jamaica, but all over the world. but we're zeroing in on Jamaica right now because Jamaica is where it's at. Domestic dispute has always been something that has plagued this country. I think this is a time when we seem to be looking at some level of solutions now, and we've brought some persons here who might be able to have an open discussion as it relates to the cause and effect and how they see it. We have with us Miss Nadine Spence. Hi, Nadine.
Hello.
Greetings to you. Good.
Greetings to
I
you as
think
well.
awesome. A lot of Jamaicans will know Nadine Spence. She's very vocal on a lot of issues, and I think tonight will be no different. We have with us Hermelin. Hermelin, how are you? Greetings.
I'm good. Hi.
Awesome. She has a lot of experience in this field as well. She's written a book talking about some level of domestic violence and all that stuff. So she has her own story to tell. And last but certainly not least, David, what's going on, my brother? Michael Daly, how you doing?
I'm good, Chopper. I'm good.
Blessings, greetings. So we're gonna have a good discussion. Nice compact team, 2 male, 2 female. That's a good balance, right? Nadine, we're gonna start with you. Domestic violence and Jamaica. You know it's a hot topic. You know what's happening on the ground. How do you see it? What do you think are some of the cause and effect?
Well, I think one of the when we normally start when we talk about gender-based violence, domestic violence, is understand what we're talking about first, right?
Yes.
So when we talk about domestic violence, you know, just the other day we had a father shooting his son in Papine, and that is domestic violence because that's violence within the home, and in some aspects of our community life is defined as domestic violence. So violence, we had a sister paying somebody to kill her sister the other day. That would be constituted in Trelawney. That is domestic violence. So it's what takes place between people who are close, people who are living together, people who are related, people who are blood relations. Then we also have intimate partner violence, which takes place between people who are in intimate relationships.
Yes. Nadine, stick up in there, Nadine. Bring your camera up a little bit because a part of your head is cutting off. And we want to make sure that we can. There you go. We want to see how that moving. There you go.
Right. So intimate partner violence is between people who are in relationships with each other, not confined to men and women. Other people are in relationships with each other. And then we also have violence what we are particularly concerned about a lot of the time when we talk is violence against women and girls or violence against women and children. And the reason why we talk about violence against women and girls or violence against women and children is because there's a power imbalance generally, societally, there's a power imbalance between women, children, girls, and men. Right? And where that power imbalance is concerned, it leads, we're talking about now who has power in society and how that kind of power can be misused and used against those who are vulnerable. So generally, we say women and children are vulnerable because most of the times, power is not necessarily a space that they occupy, right? So women in relation to men have less power. So we talk when we talk about intimate partner violence, there's a special focus on violence against women and girls because of that power imbalance, which exists historically, philosophically, institutionally, systemically, and seek to address by seeking to close the institutional systemic power gaps that exist between men and women.
So you believe that what we're suffering from now is not just something that came up a few years ago, but it's rooted in history.
Yes, it is. We have to remember where we are coming from as it relates to the relationships between men and women. That up until perhaps the 1950s, women essentially were seen as property.
Yes.
And women were not allowed to have a bank account, couldn't own property, were seen as second-class citizens. Women got the vote in Jamaica, women and men got the vote at the same time in 1948. But in a number of countries across the globe, 1944, in a number of countries across the globe, women didn't get the vote until sometime later. So women never had political power. And then when women got political power, they existed on the margins of politics as voters or as workers.
Wow.
If we look in the church as well, if we just look at societal institutions and societal arrangements,
Yes.
women's entry into the formal structures of society is very recent. Because for a long time, women were seen and treated as second-class citizens, as belonging to their husbands, as not being fit for public engagement.
Okay.
So what we are seeking to do at this point in society is rectify that power imbalance. And we are saying part of how we solve this problem of violence against women and girls is we close the power gap.
Right. Well, I'm going to come back to you in a little bit, Nadine, because one of the things I noticed in your commentary, and you said it in your opening remarks, is your focus on women and girls. Let me bring in Hermelin here. Hermelin, what's your take? You've heard Nadine's position. What's your take?
Right. And Nadine said it all. And I will just reiterate what she said. I mean, domestic violence, also known as, intimate partner violence, is extremely complicated. As we know, back in the day, most of the victims were women, but men are also becoming victims of domestic violence as well. And we have to give the information to the men as well, as even though 95% in the United States, 95% of the men do not report domestic violence, they are being abused just as women and as much as women. So I say what we need is better policy and awareness. We really need to have domestic violence awareness, educating the men and women what is domestic violence, how they can report domestic violence, how they can get out of a domestic violence relationship safely. So that's my take on that. I will expand later, but that's just what I see right now.
David, I keep saying David. Michael, your view from a man's perspective, and one of the reasons why we have a balance here is because the argument is out there. And I can tell you, ladies, what we are picking up on the ground, myself and possibly Michael, is people are now asking, and there's a hard question that is being asked recently, is why are we having such a outrage? And I give you a quick example, Nadine. You might be familiar with this scenario. There's a young lady who was killed recently in Portmore area, and while she was, well, not while, but during the time that she was killed, there was a double homicide of two guys probably a few hours later, and we heard nothing about it. It was almost on the back page of the newspaper. Michael, why are we seeing an outrage when there's a female, but we're not picking up that when we have thousands of male killed or hundreds in Jamaica? What's happening there, my brother?
Well, very nice panel. Nadine made a point as it relates to equality.
Yes.
Where she said that women were marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe that they are still marginalized. I don't really share that opinion that much right now. However, because of that thought process of women being marginalized, so the society itself will be more sympathetic towards a woman being abused or a woman that is killed than they would a man. Also, a very good point to note, Chopper, is that because we have had a history, I might put it that way, of men dying, of men committing violence against each other, that most persons know it's a dime a dozen. So persons are not going to be as outraged as when the women who we call the weaker sex, again, weaker sex, is harmed. So that is why I think we have the outrage when women are harmed than when we have men harmed.
Right, right. See, because that is what we're picking up. That is what we're picking up because people are asking the question, why are we having such argument when? But the truth is, what I found in my little research, Nadine and Hermelin, Michael as well, is the historic facts that Nadine spoke to earlier, that there is something rooted in history. And there's another side to it, because one of the things I picked up in my readings is that the historic part of it says that we were cultured to protect, but not to treat women as inferior, but to protect our women. When we came here as slaves, one of the things that the men did was to ensure that the women were safe. I think when we started out, that's how we started. How we got into the whole aspect of marginalization, where women weren't allowed to do certain things, now that's a different discussion. But isn't it part of our history that men were designed to be protectors and providers, and because that broke away is contributing to some of the domestic violence that we're seeing? What say you, Nadine?
I mean, historically and how we are socialized, yes, men have been socialized to. I always see it as I like to talk about a social contract, right? So let us imagine that at a particular point, let's say the beginning of time, men and women met, and men and women said to each other, okay, you are more suited to working outside because you have stronger muscles and you can lift up more things, and you have breasts and you can nurture the young ones, and you get pregnant, so you stay home. There was not this idea that your work is more important than mine. It was just that I was suited to one particular kind of work and you were suited to another. Over time, material value began to be added to one kind of work. So the work that was done publicly, the work that was done out in the public, that brought that after a while cash and monetary value was attached to it, that work was seen as more valuable. And then that person was seen as a more valuable citizen. And so, yes, I believe that because of how men and women are biologically made up, there is a way in which some work was assigned to men and some work was assigned to women. But over time, we began to add value to the work. So a woman staying at home, her work was not seen as valuable as a man who went out to earn money and brought the money into the home. And so, and I also want to say something to what you said. Just the other day when the father killed his son, that created a huge, people are still talking about that because of the nature of that violence.
Yes.
And so even the other day when I thought the commissioner of police and his people made a huge mistake when they drew comparisons between violence against women and violence that takes place in our society. I know men might not like to hear me say this, but men are violent. Men launch wars against each other. World War I, World War II is actually male wars. Men are. That's part of how men engage. They engage in physical, brutal wars, and women are not usually combatants. So when women become combatants, Chopper John, when women lose their lives, people raise their eyebrows because look at those men who were killed. We talk about over 1,000 men killed. How many of them were killed by women?
But
so we have a male war.
Yes,
and
but
we have to ascribe maleness to, and what maleness ascribes to men is that they're violent. Women are not a part of that. So I found that unfortunate. And now we have all of these people who are saying, you're creating all this drama about violence against women, but you're not talking about violence against men. That's not true. That's not at all true.
Nadine, you will have to now answer to the folks who say, look, when men went to war, we went to war to protect the very same existence of women. And we went to war, most men went to war because women were not physically able. And it comes back to that protectionism, that protectionist in men. That we said, we'll go out there and take the bullet. You stay home and take care of the kids. I'll put it to you now, though, that one of the reasons, Hermelin, one of the things that is being said out there in the discussions is that some of these domestic dispute, domestic violence against women, and let us be specific now, against women were orchestrated by women. In other words, folks are saying, boy, the women call it on themselves. What say you, Hermelin?
I mean,
don't shoot the messenger. I'm just a messenger here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing that forever, especially in the Caribbean community. The question is always like, what did you do? Is you hear violence against women? What did you do? You had to have egged him on. You have to have done something for him to lash out at you. But we have to remember, abuse is about power and control. So he is using his power to control you, and one of the powers he uses is finance. So because maybe he's making more money than you, and you are the one staying home and work and do, the domestic work, he's using that power because he's paying the bills, he's doing everything. So he's now he feels like, I could tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Usually, a woman, I'm not saying there are not women who provoke stuff, because I was in a 6-year emotional abusive relationship with some physical violence, and I know I did a little egg on because I was testing to see if he was abusive, because that's what my aunt said to do, test them to see. He didn't hit me at that time when I was testing him, but a slap or two came in between there. So, but that's besides the point. Usually, like when I feel when a woman really lash out is when she's tired and sick and tired of the abuse that is going on in the home. Because not all abuse are physical, some are emotional. So that person is playing with your mind. They are playing mind games with you, and you think you're going crazy. You think they're making up stories about you. So some women experience both. Some women experience physical plus emotional and psychological abuse. So think of her in that state. Not all women lash out. There are women that men beat that do not react. They stay and they take those beatings because of low self-esteem or whatever they are going through in that home at the time. So I wouldn't say it's a provoking and it's a thing that is like blaming. So you're blaming me now for standing up for myself, and stuff like that. And that's not that is not fair, because some women, I see it already with my own eyes, that they could be quiet just looking at TV, and the man will say, "What you doing? You're thinking about another man?" Boom, boom, boom. Licks. Oh, the food wasn't prepared properly, or the food is not on the plate properly. We deal with different type of abusers. So my job is to teach women, or to educate women on the type of men they may be involved with, because you have to know the type of abuser you're with to manage your relationship or know when to get out of that relationship safely.
All right, we're gonna come back to that, but I want to play a quick clip here, and when we come back, I want both. Michael, I'm gonna come back to you, but I want the women first to respond to this clip and tell me. I'm just gonna play the clip and you guys respond. I have nothing to say on this one. I'm just gonna play the clip. Stand by.
Here you in there. No. I fuck with her, no. No, so hey, no. Blood clot. Hey, I fuck with her, my girl.
All right, so that has a few choice words in there, but I think everybody will understand the essence of that. No, I'm not pointing fingers, but I am certain that what we saw in that video, there is several incidents like that we have not caught on tape. What say you, Nadine? I'll start with you again.
Because, you know, one of the things that amazes me every time, Chopper John, is that every time we talk about violence against women, people raise issues like this. If we talk about violence against women and we talk that there are some women are being abused, it doesn't mean that women themselves do not behave in this manner. Doesn't mean one doesn't lead to the exclusion of the other. So when I talk about violence against women and girls, I'm talking about violence against women and girls. And if that is a situation where a woman, I don't know the context of that relationship, a woman is being violent and abusive. That is what it is. People.
I think what most people are asking, though, and what people are
relationships with their children, fathers in relationships with their children. There's something called human nature that says we behave some ways that we shouldn't behave sometimes. It doesn't negate the fact that we have a problem with violence against women and girls, and that one case doesn't turn the argument on its head. It's
no,
just, if it was my son,
with your respect,
if I think my son may not tell my son, say you need to slap her, because nobody knows, man or woman not supposed to deal like that. Of course, he has the right. He has the right to self-defense, and anybody attacks you. Anybody attacks you. So what if that was a gun, or what if that was a knife?
He knew the level of the threat, and he operated perfectly.
No, he did not. You have the right to self-defense.
Had he
No. You see, that's the error. That's the error, Chopper John. Because a woman is acting in that way, I am not at all. I do not at all feel as if the women that I advocate for are at risk.
Nad, let's hear Michael.
Nadine, let us say that this young man, who I will give all respect, even though I'm hearing that there are other reasons why he did not hit her, and he did hit her and she died, what would be the reaction of the public today? What would have been the reaction of the public today, Nadine? Because I submit to you that there are many, many cases in which the partner was pushed to that point.
Man, you see?
Hello, hold on, Nadine, please. The partner was pushed, as we saw in that video. And Nadine, I'm telling you that there are many, many cases in which we have seen that. Not saying that it is right for the man to hit her to whatever, but as you rightly said, she bullied him to a point where an ordinary person or in different circumstances would have reacted violently.
Hermelin, what say you? You saw the
video. So my take on it, abuse is abuse, whether it's done on a man or whether it's done on a woman. And I think the consequences should be the same. Whatever is the consequences that a man have to take, the woman should take it too. No one should be subject to any type of abuse, to be treated humane, to be bullied in that sort of way in public and stuff like that. And I would say from my own experience, not all abuse is provoked. So I want us to get that clear. Like it doesn't. When my husband choked me in my neck, that was not provoked. I was reading a book. He said, "Take the light off." I said, "Won't give me 1 minute." He jumped on my pregnant stomach. He held me in my throat, and he said, "Look, look how I'm gonna kill a little bitch here tonight." Tell me how this was provoked. This was not so. Not all abuse are provoked, because not all women are the same, and we have different personalities. So some may provoke, some may do this, some may do that. We don't know the extent, but I could tell you from my experience, not all domestic abuse are provoked. And I think,
agree with you on that. I agree with you. That's all. Go ahead, David.
No, I know you didn't say all.
Go ahead, Michael.
Chopper. we started the discussion without really looking at the real causes. For me, I place it at two levels.
Yes.
One is what I call frustration aggression. Frustration aggression. And that is a theory that is postulated by psychology. That goal blockage, persons not be able to actually reach their goals. That is one. And ego. Because I'm telling you, as I said before, had it been some other men, with that scenario that you just showed us, it would have ended differently. But although me here say because you can't lick her because of who she's connected to. But I'm just saying to you that most of the domestic violence that we see in our society is as a result of frustration. But Chopper,
that's not true. That's not true.
Why it's not true, Nadine? Tell us
why not true. Why not true? Why not true?
It's as a result of a historical, sociological relationship between men and women that started off long before now. It's not because men are frustrated. Come on, man, and stop your foolishness. You cannot, you know why it's dangerous when you justify that? Because men keep doing it more and more. Because why didn't you play the one, Chopper? Why you never play the one with the man that tell the woman, say, I'm going to kill her because he pay money take care of her? Why you never played that one?
Nadine, why we don't play the one with the
play that one and then let us hear a man say, I took care of you when you were sick. I spent money on you. And because I spend money on you, I'm going to kill you. Don't say you. It is. I cannot engage in a conversation where you say men beat women because they are.
Hold on, Michael. Let Nadine finish. 1 second.
What about the fact that men were legally allowed to beat their wives? It is in law. It was legislated that men could beat their wives because they were seen as the people who had ownership of their wives. And that society and the Bible. And
we fought against that, and we got rid of that because that was just outlaw. We got rid of that, right?
No, but we get rid of it, but the mentality behind it is still there. That's what I'm saying to you.
Nadine, let me tell you what I'm picking up. What I am picking up on the ground from men. Here's what, and not just men, women also. People are saying, let's not talk about violence against women, because the truth is a significant part of the violence in our society is towards men, whether it's from women to men or men to men. So let us deal with the issue of violence overall.
Men are violent globally. And that argument that you just raised is the same thing that when the white people say all lives matter. If we can see it when we talk about racism, if we could see, for example, that even though George Floyd had committed an offense, he didn't deserve to have Chauvin squeeze his life out of him on the ground. Why can't we see it when we apply that same analysis to women?
And that's a solid argument. That's a solid. David, Michael, what do you say about that?
I agree with her. But what she has turned my argument to have me saying that all men become violent because of frustration. But frustration, Nadine, is not just the way we are looking at it, I can say frustration or goal blockage. Well, I'm Nadine. And I never say that this goal blockage is something good. Goal blockage is the fact that him asked Hermelin to turn off the light, and he did not achieve his goal. Not that he was correct in choking her, but what we are saying was accept, Nadine, that when we set out to accomplish something and we don't accomplish it, we become frustrated. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's right, but I'm just saying this is one of the I can tell you that many persons have become frustrated because they are unable to pay their bills, to properly take care of their families, etc., etc. All of those are
but David, I think, Michael, I think that's an excuse and a cop-out because men.
No, it's not a cop-out.
Yeah, but we were designed, we were placed on earth to be protectors and providers.
And I agree with you.
And the minute you cannot provide, then you need to double up on the protection. So that to me is an excuse to justify.
May I clarify, Chopper?
Yes.
May I clarify? I oftentimes speak about parenting. And we expect persons to become parents just by having children.
Right.
And the same way, we expect people to understand relationships, how you communicate with your partner by just having a woman or having a man. These are things that people have to learn. Have we taught them?
Yes.
Who's teaching them? They are not being taught, Hermelin. They are not being taught. Persons are going into what they call relationship without having the tools in order to navigate these relationships. And so,
Hermelin, what are some of the foundation from your point of view, Hermelin? What are some of the foundation? Because Michael spoke to something very profound just now. What are some of the foundation that needs to be laid in order for them to get this solid foundation so we don't have abuse when the relationship comes up?
You mean foundation before we even get into the relationship, before we get into abuse?
Yes. Yes. You know what? Let me just give you a backstory real quick so you can understand from whence I came. The foundation on which, and I think Nadine might be familiar with this story. There's a popular talk show host in Jamaica right now who believes that in dating, right, at the initial start of dating, it's an expensive gesture and it requires for a man to at least come up with $100,000 in order to be able to finance a date with her. So you have to be able to buy a good wig, eyelashes, makeup, shoes, gown, all that stuff, right? So that foundation is that's what I'm talking about. How do we lay a solid foundation so we don't end up with abuse?
I personally believe we first need to look for the red flags and the warning signs in our relationship before we even get to that part. What you just said there. So what I teach women in my group is look out for the signs. Is he extremely jealous? Is he possessive? Does he have a bad temper? Is he verbally abusive? These are the things. And these are the things when you're dating is not, oh, you're having sex with a person, you're dating, you're getting to know each other. So I think you have to be open up your ears, open up your eyes, and listen. Because I always say, I believe men tell the truth. We do not listen to what they are saying. When I met my husband, he said he don't think he was going to be a good father. He didn't want any children. I didn't listen to that. He proved it to me over and over. So what I did, I had to take care of my children. Oh, he contributed, but I took care of my kids because he told me on the second conversation, he was not going to be a good father. And I was like, no, when you see that little baby, of course you're going to be a good father. You understand? So I think we have to look out for the warning sign first before we build a foundation to know if that is the person we want to move forward with in a relationship. Because we all come in with some kind of trauma, some kind of childhood trauma, some kind of thing. Some have it worse than the other. So you have to listen to what a person's saying. The men to men, listen to when the women are speaking. If they have daddy issues, if they have mommy issues, if they have just, whatever issues, listen to them and think about it. Don't just go with her because she's beautiful and she's looking good and she dressed nicely. Can she be a good mother? Is she going to be a good partner for you building wealth? These are the things I say is the foundation for me. Look out for the red flags first so we can make that decision right there, whether we should move forward or not.
Well, Chopper, can I ask Hermelin a question?
Yes.
Sure.
So when we find these red flags with these men, what do we do with them?
If you have your values, your core values and what you want in a relationship, you leave him alone. Because
leave them in society where
that's not my, as a woman. That's
hold on, Hermelin. Hold on. So when you leave them in society, the person who is not as instinctive as you are will take him up. And what happens? We have another story in the newspapers. That's why I'm saying, Hermelin. All right, you know what we are missing here. There's this thing called social learning theory. Right? In which we all learn from each other. Right? I am from a society, I am from a community in which I never saw this happening, men beating women. I experienced this when I was an adult. Now I'm saying if we have all of these persons with these dysfunctional behaviors in our society being shown about, we're not going to pick them up because they pick up men for different reasons.
Mhm.
And therefore, we're going to have this continuous cycle of domestic abuse.
Yeah, but that's where that. But I mean, we can't. I don't think it's my responsibility to save for a man to save me or for me to save him. I think we know the traumas that we come in, so we need to seek personal help. We need to take care of our self, self care, our mental mind. That is why I said in my group, I teach women awareness. So now they have the information moving forward. The women are supposed to teach their daughters, and so it's supposed to go like you're supposed to get help. No one taught us. We learn by trial and error, right? Because we saw abuse. I saw my aunt beating her boyfriend with a cutlass many times back home, and we laughing as children, 11 years old, beat him, yeah, da 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 da, and he was like the guy in the video, not hitting her back or anything like that. So I grew up thinking that was domestic violence, right? I didn't know. I had to learn. So what I learned, I'm teaching other women, and the women have to teach their children. As you say, it's a learning process. We have to teach each other. But I'm saying we still have a right to make the decision who we should move on with in a relationship. Because that, I know I choose men already that I figure like I could fix. Like, oh yeah, your mother was that. Oh, I'll give you all the love and I'll give you all the attention. And what they did, they leave my mind all disrupted and bruised, and I have to go fix myself. So I cannot continuously do that. I have to now have boundaries and values so I can move forward in a healthy relationship.
Solid point. We're gonna take a quick break. We lost Nadine there for a quick second. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, folks, we're gonna look at one of the main factors that folks are saying is the cause, and that is emotional abuse, which they are saying most men suffer from severe emotional abuse, which is a reactive mechanism. So in other words, when there's an issue of domestic violence, folks are saying, well, look, that individual was suffering from some level of emotional abuse. That's not my personal view. I'm just voicing what we pick up on the ground because we're the men on the streets. So we're echoing it as we see it. We'll be right back, guys. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's the girl Shensia with a message to you from myself and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Shen Yangs, everyone see wear a mask where the numbers drop. I don't want COVID, lay you don't chat. Nose and mouth, you pick cover up that. Sanitize, get hospitalized. Fight the virus and fight for your life, yeah. Nobody talk about say you're no response no more. Don't be reckless, cause your test say you're not happy. You can still get the virus from somebody. Don't be reckless, cause your test say you're not happy. You can still get the virus. So keep the numbers down. Protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Yeah. Keep the numbers down. Protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive.
Nah, click on your link for my liquor brother pre that slot bro, we no need that. And the next thing them type of song they are listening online, what kind of thing that some big man pose up on them profile and a put chat to a small child. Watch yourself on social media when you a post boxes, no do nothing too wild. What if your little brother send a post ya? What if your bro dead in another crime video ya? What if your little sister fi take a one pic and it a put up everywhere like it's a poster? Before me share the post, the pic, I ask myself what if I nah comment, I nah go click me. Before me ask what if I nah comment, I nah go click me. Before me ask what if so before you share the post, the link, just ask yourself what if yeah. When you're there online, Make it a new day at the rhyme. Keep up with the time. Broadcasting commissioner remind you.
All right, so welcome back, folks. We still have Michael Daly with us, and we still have Hermelin right here. Nadine is going to be back in just a moment. She's getting her phone charged up a little bit. The discussion continues, guys. Domestic violence after the outrage, and the big question is what's next? We're talking with Hermelin, who has Hermelin. I want you to talk to us a little bit about your experience and your book that you have. What inspired the book that you've written, and how that helped in your communication with persons who suffer from domestic dispute. Talk to us a little bit about your book, Hermelin.
Okay, so as I said before, my abuse was emotional. It was more emotional abuse from a narcissistic partner. And as I said, there are different type of abuse, and that was one of it. And I was in that relationship for 6 years. And at the time, I didn't know anything about narcissistic abuse. And narcissistic abuse is emotional abuse, where that abuser is just messing with your mind. And I think even now, like today, even though we separate, broke up how many years ago, 15, 18 years ago or so, it still leaves long lasting effect, because I still have like trouble making decisions, because they make you feel like, as I said, you're going crazy. They accuse you of things that that you didn't do, or you could, you could tell, they could do something, and you're like, yes, you did. You said you was going to do that, and they will argue you down. Hey, I didn't tell you that. So that leave you confused. So I feel it's like I am. Physical is bad, and I think even emotional is even worse for me, because it just years, even 18 years after, I'm still living with the after effect of that emotional abuse in my mind. And I started to write a book. It's 8 short stories. 4 is fictional, 4 is non-fictional. Just wanted to share my story on narcissistic abuse and in a story form, and highlighting what is a narcissist, who can be a narcissist, the type of emotional abuse they might use. So all the stories, so we deal with financial abuse, we deal with gaslighting, we deal with just abusive relationship where you just have manipulation, we just lying and manipulation. We deal with physical abuse. We also have a story there where it's a physical abuse against a man. So it's 8 really, really good short stories that where women could actually identify the abuser and the type of abuse he used in the story. And I'm hoping that they can go into the world and share those stories with their children. So I'm focusing on women, and especially girls. So
Right.
mothers who probably have problems sharing those stories with their daughters, they probably could buy the book, they could read it, they could communicate that, give the daughters the book so they can read. Because all I want to spread is awareness of abuse and how you can get out of it before it even starts. If you're already in it, how to get out. If that is what you choose, because the woman or the man have to be ready. You have to be ready to move. Nobody can talk you out of leaving that relationship. Nobody can beg you to leave. Nobody can drag you out leaving. You yourself have to make that decision for yourself. Because most of the time, you see, if somebody drag you out, talk you out, you go back. You might go back. They say a woman may go back 7 times before she finally leaves.
Right.
So hopefully match the brakes. That's the message we want to convey, the type of abusers and the type of abuse they might use. And so you could identify it. Because if you don't know the type of abuse you're experiencing, you tend to stay there because you think you could fix him, especially a narcissist who cannot fix them.
Can't be fixed. Nadine,
Yes.
why do women stay in abusive relationship? And I'll give you a scenario. When the police is called and the police show up, and the woman says, "Look, I'm not going to press charges, even though they've been battered and beaten by this man." And the neighbor called the police. The cop shows up, and the cop says, "Look, I can't do nothing because she's not pressing charges." Why the woman? Why is that a constant feature in domestic abuse cases?
Because the person who is your abuser is somebody who you make love to, who is not always an abuser, who is nice to you sometimes. Abuse has a cycle. Part of it we call the honeymoon phase. This person is going to treat you well. They don't abuse you all the time. They're nice to you sometimes. And it creates a kind of a lot of people are very conflicted over, is this my lover or is this my enemy? I'm not quite sure. So people feel as if women and men, whoever it is that is in an abusive relationship who stay, feel as if they can make it better the next time. They feel as if they can work through the difficulties, that it will improve. There are some people who can't leave because they rely on the person for financial support. There are some people who cannot leave because this is the home. If they're living with the person, they share a home, and this person perhaps doesn't have an alternative in respect of where should I go to live. Some people might not want to leave because they have children and they are not quite sure how to treat with their children by themselves. So people in abusive relationships stay sometimes because they can't imagine themselves leaving, and they don't know how to leave, and they don't know where to go. Some of it is physical, some of it is psychological, some of it is financial, all kinds of reasons. People choose not to leave. I want to say to you though that in some states in the United States, even if you call a police and the police comes to the home and the police sees that something is happening, they can bring charges. They are not waiting on the woman to bring, or they abused to say I will bring charges. They will bring the charges on behalf of.
So why aren't we bringing some legislation similar?
And that's what we have to, because in the case, for example, that went last week, a woman turned up at a police station and she was obviously badly beaten enough so that the police felt that she needed to go find medical attention right away, because in their press release, they stated that the woman was in such a state that they couldn't take a statement from her. They sent her to get medical attention.
I don't think it's a state that she was in though, I think that's a standard procedure, right?
No, man, they said because of the state she was in, that's what the statement. I listened to this, I didn't see it, but I listened to somebody reading it. Because of the state she was in, they encouraged her. And that was very different from what they said about the man. They told the man to go get checked out by a medic. But in the case of the woman, they said because of the state she was in, they could not have dealt with her. But they shouldn't have done that. They should have accomplished. What if the man...
But they cannot take a statement from her unless she has a doctor report,
No, you can. You can take a statement and then she can follow up with the doctor's report. That happens in other cases.
She can make a report.
Right.
But a statement is different.
Right. But what I'm saying is, our legislative arrangement doesn't allow the police to act in the best interest of the person who is abused.
Right.
So one of the things that we could think through as we talk about how do we fix, and this is what we talk about, how do we change systems so that those of us who need justice can access justice, and that might be one of the changes that we might want to introduce in the domestic act.
Michael, what say you on that whole aspect? Why do women return? Why do you think why they return?
Well, she touched on the main one, financial. I have spoken to many who believe that they can't make it on their own.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of times they just believe that starting over. And we can go uptown. I have friends uptown who just can't leave the luxury. They have not gotten the start that they wish they could have had, or they are now living the life.
Right.
And they just don't want to leave that.
So that luxury car and that mansion that they occupy and the
Yes.
money spending, they're not leaving it for nothing.
And since I don't want Nadine to beat me, I will also say that us men, we threaten them. We use force, we use threat.
Oh.
You know, yes, I have known many of my female friends who have been threatened, and we know the society that we're operating.
You can't leave. If you leave, I'm gonna kill you.
Right.
Like in that voice note that you spoke about earlier, Nadine.
You know, before you go, Chopper, you know that a friend of mine told me that better she take some licks than dead.
Wow.
Yep, that's very sad.
Wow. So that voice note that Nadine spoke about earlier, I had it somewhere here, and I'm trying to find it because I wanted to play it so Hermelin could probably hear what it is. So what it was, a young gentleman who is with another woman herald some serious threat. He was eventually arrested by the cops, but I don't think there was any charges laid because obviously on our constitution you can't arrest somebody for threats. But it was serious, and I think action had to be taken to ensure that those threats weren't followed through. But the emotional abuse, Nadine and Hermelin, Michael as well, the emotional abuse that men are now saying that in a lot of cases why they react the way they react is because they are suffering from a build-up of emotional stress and abuse that was inflicted on them over an extended period of time. What say you on that, Nadine? Is there any truth to that, or are men just finding frivolous excuses?
Okay, you see, whenever we have this conversation in Jamaica, I find 90% of men then engage in conversations like this. Men will not take responsibility. Men will not say, let me, first they will say, there is a conversation that is their mother did it. There is a conversation that women provoke them. Then there is that there are enough, men are also being abused. Then there is men are being provoked. And I'm not saying that none of those things aren't true. A lot of those things might be true, but those are all separate conversations to be had and given the same level of respect. They mustn't, so let us look at this conversation now. Remember when this young man, this black young man was killed by a Hispanic man in the US. Because we get it with race, but we don't get it with gender.
Yes.
And he's a young man who was walking in a hoodie. And there are a lot of people who say,
Trayvon Martin. Is that Trayvon Martin?
Black men, black people who are violent usually wear hoodie, and he had a right to be afraid because he would have experienced violence and so on. But what was at the crux of that is that he was racist.
Yes.
And because he was racist, he saw a black man and he felt that he could then execute his own form of justice against that black man. Now, the fact that black men engage in certain kinds of behavior is not taken off the table, it's there. But it doesn't mean, and the fact that, and again, let's go back to George Floyd, the fact that George Floyd was taking opiates was not justification for him to be treated the way he was. We get it with black people, but we don't get it with gender. We get it with race, but we don't get it with gender. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of conversations to be had about relationships. How women are in relationships. This is not saying that women are perfect in relationships. To say that women are abused doesn't mean that women are perfect in relationships. To say that women are abused and there needs to be a focus on women doesn't mean that men are also not abused in relationships. To say that women are abused and we need to focus on fixing systems so that women are abused less doesn't mean that men are not also abused and men are not provoked, but sometimes. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of these things are acting together at the same time. Right. And so let us have those conversations as separate conversations and give them the attention they're due. But let us not put all of them together so that we obfuscate and lose the importance of this particular subject that we're talking about. Violence against women and girls is an issue, not just in Jamaica, globally. That is why after we had the International Convention on Human Rights, it became necessary for us to have a convention on the elimination of discrimination against women called CEDAW, because the convention on the Human Rights Convention did not cover the particular kind of violence that women face. So Jamaican people and women and men included don't have to get all offended as if this is an attack on Jamaican people. It's a global reality. And there are other states that are dealing with it by people owning the reality and dealing with it. We can't solve it if men are not a part of the solution. If men take themselves away and feel victimized, we will never have a solution. I'm a mother of one son. He's 31 years old, right? And I raised my son to be a particular kind of man. He's now raising 2 daughters because I wanted a particular kind of man in the world. That is where we start with parenting. How do we parent our boys and our girls? How do we teach children respect, that we respect regardless?
Social learning.
Yes.
Right? So I those are critical conversations, but they must not all be dumped in the same discussion because we are going to lose sight of what the focus is.
David, what say you?
Well, I am not in total agreement with Nadine that we must not include, because what are the causes? Because in order to solve the problem, we have to know the causes,
yes,
right? And recognize the causes and work on those causes. And I hear her come right around to what I just said, social learning. She's teaching her son the right thing. Now, if he's growing up in an environment in which he's not seeing those role models, then he's going to be somewhere else. And what I'm saying, that we need to include the men in the conversation, as Nadine said, by teaching them proper values, etc., etc. And what we're seeing, so Chopper, you know, when I did the research, I am seeing that this domestic violence, maybe what Hermelin, the structure of domestic violence in Hermelin's domicile is not the same way in Jamaica because of culture, Nadine. Our culture, the cultures differ, and therefore we might see some differences in how it is carried out. But my thing, Chopper, is that education has to start with men, us men. Mm-hmm. You know, because I am seeing a lot of women who are mimicking the behavior of men.
Well, that's what I wanted to go to. We have a little bit of time left, about 15 minutes to go, guys. Hermelin, I want to jump to you real quick. This whole part of what I believe is contributing to domestic violence against women in particular is the fact that the role of men has been diminished, and women are now in this head-on-head battle for who is really the head of the household. And this is what I'm seeing. I see where men are no longer allowed to be men. When you look at it, years ago, men used to be responsible for taking care of the household, making sure that women are...
Make men great again. Chopper, it sounds like you have to make men great again.
No, man. No. No, listen.
Make men great again.
What happened, Michael, is that men also renege on their responsibility and create that vacuum, so women had to step up and start to want to become men. So there's an issue. I'm not saying that it's just women bamboozle themselves into, hey, let me do this, let me do that. Men also contribute to that void that allows women to not be women anymore. Because what you see now is a competition. And where that comes, and that is creating a problem. What say you there, Herman? I see you shaking your head a little bit.
I'm laughing. So like make men great again. Yes.
I like that acronym though. Make men great again.
Champion talk. Yes.
I believe we need to really, as Michael said, we need to go down to the root cause of why some men are violent and why some men are physical abusers, as well as why some men might be narcissistic abusers or why some men are manipulators. And from I study more of the narcissistic abuse because that's the abuse I'm experienced with. And what I realized with narcissistic abuse, that a lot of these men come in with a lot of childhood trauma. Trauma could be abandoned by a parent, whether the parent died, whether the parent walked away, whether the parents it's just abandonment. And like my ex-husband, his mother left him on the step at 5 months old in his father's step. And that affected him because his abandonment. Then when he tried to look for his mother, she rejected him. And then you see where that domestic violence come in. Some of them might beat you, some of them might manipulate you. But I know for him and other men that I have dated, they had the same traits, some type of abandonment issues. Now, they may not know that is the cause of why they are acting that way. That is why education and awareness is important. So we cannot treat them. I'm not a licensed therapist, psychologist. Even psychologists say they only could treat them and managing the emotional the abuse. So who is me to fix a man that's coming with a narcissistic abuser, abandonment issue, rejection issue, and all these issues that's going down the line, and nobody talks about it. Men don't talk about these issues. You find that along the way as you go in the relationship. So who is responsible for fixing that? We as a women, or the man supposed to seek therapy and fix that? No, he's not going to do that. What he's doing, we get the backlash of the abandoned mother, we get the backlash of the rejected mother or the rejected father. And as Nadine said, it comes down to discipline and how we raise our children. And I have two boys, and I have raised them exactly as Nadine said earlier on. I wanted a certain type of man. So I reduced trauma in their life. I never one day said anything bad about their father. Whatever they know now is whatever they ask him today. So I eliminated that because I didn't want therapy later. So I just raised my kids because I was like, I see what trauma could do to boys, especially later on. And I remember asking my son at 15 years, when he was 15, what do you know about abuse in the household? The small amount of the physical abuse. Can I trust you not to hit a woman like if you start dating her? And he said, no. And that's when I know that's where therapy had to come in. And I mean, he never see his father like punch at me, beat at me, or do anything like that. It was just the emotional abuse of how I was scared and frightened, right? In the relationship. And the things that his father did to him physically, burned his hand. I mean, let me tell you something. Because he didn't grow up with that love and attention, he didn't have that love and attention to give. So he saw physical abuse, how they say corporal punishment, as discipline. But it left my son bruised and battered. So my son now is 25 years and is seeking therapy for that type of abuse from his father. So we have to teach the boys. We have to teach boys how to treat girls. We have to teach boys how to manage their anger. And this is how I see some of the change can start happening: awareness and education.
So Michael, the whole thing of learning comes back to what you were saying earlier.
Yes, yep. That's why you see ignorance. As a teacher, they always, when I was being trained, they told us that we must never assume that a child knows. And we don't use know anymore in education. We must make that assumption that he needs to be taught. And we cannot just assume that because, as I said before, because someone is in a relationship, that he or she knows how to operate in that relationship. There has to be some amount of teaching, And I remember, and I spoke about the whole issue of parenting. I remember when I was a boy, I used to see social workers coming into my community to interact. with the mothers because the fathers were gone to brung or gone to work or something. Interact with our parents, teaching them how to grow children. You know, we are allowing people to operate at their own devices, do what they believe is the right way to operate, and we need to move away from there. We need to move away from there, Chopper.
Right. So Nadine left us with this little quote. She'll be right back. I think her phone is acting up a little bit, but she'll be right back. Make men great again.
Nothing wrong with that, Chopper. Nothing wrong with that.
But Hermelin, is it though? I mean, we're skipping and dancing around it. And folks, there's a lot of comments in the comment section here, guys. I don't know if you can see it. If there's any particular comment that you want to respond to, please feel free. We have about 9 minutes to go. But Hermelin, just to go back to this a little bit, is it fair to say that men have been forced out of their role as men based on the new norms now in society, the new way of establishing relationship? For example, when you have female and female relationship, that excludes a man. When you have what's the name given? Is it butch or whatever it is?
Just female
who identify as male. Does that remove the male from the household? Isn't this a part of some of the issues that we're facing?
But I still do believe that women are the teachers in the household. Women, we are the one who really put on we talking about the physical.
In other words, can a woman be a man? Can a woman be a man?
No. But I think we're responsible for the child rearing in the relationship. Are men being pushed out? Are men just being lackadaisical and just stepping aside? That's the question.
I think it's a two-way. I think men have seriously fall back and have reneged on their responsibility. I believe that once we step up to the plate again, which we ought to do.
Let me tell you this. On my show earlier today on Top 5, one guy made a comment and he said, yeah, it's time for women to step up because we men we tired. We tired. He said that
he's lazy.
Independence and they still pushing us out. And he said, oh, you know, it's time. Oh yeah, we glad women are stepping up because we men just tired of working hard. We need to relax now.
David, what say you? Are you tired?
This is when I talk about culture, friendship in culture. Because I don't know if any real man in Jamaica would really say that. Because I will work this boy. I will work this boy, you know?
Right.
But as it relates to you ask the question, you pose the question, about women being a man.
Yes.
For me, physiologically, psychologically, no woman can be a man. And every home needs a man to help to raise, especially the boys.
So are you saying that what we're seeing now is because men are not in the household as much?
No. The sociologists will not tell you that. That is not because many men have been driven out of the household because of women believing they can be men.
Oh wow, Hermelin, you hear that?
Yeah.
No, I agree with some part of it because I remember having the same thoughts around my 30s, like, hey, I'm educated, I'm making such and such a money, I have my own place or whatever. What do I need a man for? I remember having those conversations with myself. And then we started, and I was separated at the time, but the person I was dating or whatever, I wasn't giving him a hell of a chance to come and do anything in my home. It's like, oh, you want to come over when I want you to come over. You're going to go out when I want. I wanted all the control because I feel I was at a certain status. So yeah, and I had young kids. I didn't even look at like, oh, well, he could probably be a good, father figure to my kids because they were younger at the time. Or he could come and add some value to the relationship. I wasn't thinking that at all. I was just thinking, no, I'm in control. I'm going to control it. So sometimes, because I was talking to a friend just 2 days ago, and I said, I know I passed up on 2 good marriage, in my 30s. But because I had that independent attitude, I was like, no, man, So either we probably could drive them away or we just keep them away from the household. But now, presently in my 40s, I do believe a house need the two balance because we yin and yang, we man and woman. You cannot do it all by yourself. It does take a village, and it is nice to have a male in the house so you can sort things out together with children. Because now I'm seeing it, and it's, you know, I have a fiance now, and he's part of my kids' life, even though they're big, and it's so nice. Like, he will come and say, no, that's not a way to talk to them. Or they will go to him, like, you know, for a man advises, if my son is dating a girl, you be like, so how should I think? How much money should I have in my pocket? You know, he will ask him like, you know, is $100 too much? Is $150 too much? Is $25 too little? So
tell him don't come to Jamaica. Tell him don't come to Jamaica, because if he comes to Jamaica, he will have to have $100,000. That's what these ladies are pushing out there now. They said to get her 100,000 to get her through the door.
So that's 100,000 Jamaica dollars.
1,000 US to get her through the door. Yes.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Well, tell the ladies that.
I guess they'll be staying inside then.
That's a new figure in Jamaica now. 1,000 US to get her through the door. But interesting point of view. We are a few minutes out, guys. We're gonna take our final break. When we come back, we're gonna ask you guys to speak to the whole aspect of solutions and recommendation. What would you recommend, David, Michael, if you had the chance to speak to the authorities on what you think is some of the solutions to domestic violence? And the same thing for you, Hermelin, when we come back. Hopefully we'll have Nadine back at that time so we can wrap. But we'll be right back. Stick and stay with us, guys.
Oh, you would have feel don't do that. Oh, you would have feel you want it back.
Oh, you feel look on a woman and you want to raise your hand like you don't understand, but she never really time to sick. You think a trick, she a trick.
Oh, you wanna feel.
And if a little man cough, you want kill him off like your brain soft, right? See you gone past. You want more of this?
Tell me how you would have feel if I you them son, if you are the family, if you catch COVID-19.
Yo, we need to respect one another.
Step in the shoes of your sister, yeah.
Don't do that. Oh, you would have feel you want it back.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
You can be anything you want in a life, and where you come from, and where your mindset there. Look on me, now we come from the yard, and they get to wanna represent the brand Pepsi. Hey.
Yeah, we're doing it for the love. So good here we can't get enough. Every taste, every vibe, every kick in a hit, I can rise up above.
For the love of taste, I can.
For the love of self-expression, I can. For the love of standing out, I can.
For the love of myself, I can.
For the love of moving people, I can.
For the love of my country, I can.
Jamaican, I can. Jamaican, I can. Jamaican, I can. Jamaican, I can. Proud to be a Jamaican. Spice up your winnings. New game supreme up on the scene. Hot pick a do it and it easy if you win. Pick any number from 1 to 15. Then all you do is watch all your winnings come in. All you need a $10. You can bet it and make it in $100. You might even win a 110 or 130. And the best money this you ever spend, dada. Hot pick, Supreme Ventures, this is the new hot topic. So easy if you win, check your ticket for the payout where you get, then wrap up your money in the elastic. See there, we're catching on myself. You win $100, TC win 110, and SWAT wins with 130. Hot pick, easy if you win. Easy if you win, me say it, easy if you win. Easy if you win, me say it.
Introducing Hot Pay, the hot new way to play from Supreme Ventures. Prizes are random. 6 draws per day. Visit supremeventures.com for details.
Easy for play, easy for win. A spice of that.
All right, welcome back, guys. So we are wrapping up, and we're happy to have Nadine back with us. Nadine, boy, you leave us with a powerful quote there. Make men great again.
But you notice what I'm relating to, right? It's a sexist kind of claim that male privilege should be preserved. Like men at a point in our history occupied a privileged position. And part of the reason why men are perhaps not doing what we expect them to do is because women have somehow challenged that privilege. We have to think about that. Because if you, again, apply to a racial connotation, and you will see how wrong that is. There was a time, yes, when women were seen as second-class citizens and men were seen as the ultimate citizen. And women have worked with the help of some men and have now pulled themselves up on our in society, have access, education, can now sit in parliament. Are we saying that we need to go back to the time when women were barefoot and pregnant at home and couldn't leave the home?
No,
I don't think that's, no, I mean, it's a dangerous, you know, I did a course one time and my lecturer said to me, racism and sexism are two branches of the same tree. The same justification that went into justifying black people being subjugated and treated as second-class citizens were learned from how women were treated. And so men have to go beyond that idea that their privilege needs to be maintained and need to be preserved for them to feel good about themselves. And if they're not feeling good about themselves, then nobody is safe. No, Gusto. There was a time when women were treated as second-class citizens. Do men want to see us going back to that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So let us say then that what we need to talk about is what are the things we need to adjust so that we live in a more equal and equitable society? What do we need to do? So
we can't promote equal and equity within a relationship when the common buzzword for new female is independence. How does independence work?
But if me want to, I'm an independent woman, me not necessarily want to be in a relationship.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
And independence,
I'm talking about independence in a relationship.
Yeah, but man must have their independence, and woman, it makes for a good relationship when both parties are independent.
No, if you're independent, you stay away, you stay apart. It can't be.
No, that's independence means.
Of course, look up the dictionary.
You must be able to still pursue your own dreams, pursue who you want to be your best self, and when you come together.
If you're in a union, you pursue everything together.
Anybody think that need a psychiatrist and a psychologist? Be your own independent
can you be independent and be in a relationship?
Of course.
I think our relationship is coming together and building well together. I don't see independence within a relationship. I personally don't. I think it causes problem. I think it causes problem. I think it causes problem. Then I'm going to talk about my money and my this and my that and then.
But some relationships work best that way. Some relationships work best.
No, it's not a relationship.
No, some relationship work when people are mixing money, and some relationships don't work that way. It depends on what is happening in your relationship. It's not a universal principle. It depends on the people.
David, when a woman comes to you and says she's independent, talk to me about independence and relationship.
If she says she's independent,
what about when a man come to me and tell me say independent? What we must do?
Run him.
Of course.
If him stay by himself, if he's independent, that's the word independent means stay alone.
No, that's trivializing an important principle.
No, it's not trivializing, but Nadine, seriously, it is a part of the core problem that we're having, you know.
Not at all. It's not at all. It's not at all a part of the core problem. Part of the core problem is something called male privilege.
Male privilege?
Yeah.
What is that, Nadine?
Men not wanting to give up their position. Men holding on to the idea.
I'm the head of the household. God created me as a king and head of the household. Why should I give that up?
Okay.
Tell me why I should give it up. Why should I give up my responsibility of being the protector and provider of the household? Why?
Okay. And if you're not the protector, suppose you are not the protector or provider, suppose I am.
No, not in my household.
But suppose I am.
the protector.
Suppose I am in the
Well,
household that you and
well,
that.
if you are, I will be dependent on you.
Yes.
So I can't depending on you as the protector and as a winner and tell myself I'm independent.
Look
and
here.
if I am independent, not Nadine, if I am independent,
independent don't mean money. Independent don't mean money.
No, I'm just
using that too material. It don't mean money.
No, but look here.
Independent don't mean money. I cannot have no money at all in a relationship as I can be the person who runs the house.
Emily, what say you?
But that's different from being independent. That is different
Michael,
from being independent.
let's hear Emily on his independent. Let's hear Emily on his independent. We're getting ready to wrap, but we're getting a little heat today. Let's trash out this word independence in a relationship. How does it work, Evelyn?
Oh, so I think the things that we need to do is we need to raise awareness. We need to raise awareness of, as I said, of type of abuser, as Michael said, teaching, education. That is important. So because if you know more, you will do better. I say, implement strict up laws and policies, but I also believe in empowering survivors and the family. So I could believe in education. So even for me, it comes back to education, raising awareness and empowering the survivors who left the relationship, so they will know what to do, make better decisions moving forward. So I don't know. I'm not on the part where probably Nadine might be at the part where she probably might say, like, we need government stricter policies. The perpetrator probably need to I believe so too. The perpetrator need to get educated too. A lot of time we miss that part. We educate the survivors, but we do not look into the perpetrator, the abuser, men as well as women. So now we don't educate them. We just lock them up or we send them to jail, or they're just bad. But I think if we use those situations, we can help the future generation, because the perpetrator will tell us what caused them to do that, what is in their mind, those things, and then we could use those data, that information to teach the boys how to treat a woman, or what they should do, or what help they should, or what young boys, the help they should get before they even start a relationship, or teach young women how to value themselves before they get into a relationship, so they wouldn't have to depend. Because I say, what keeps a woman in a relationship is 3 F's: finance, fear, and family. So if we teach her how to be more self-sufficient, maybe she may not end up in a situation where she's fearful to leave that relationship. So my thing is education and awareness.
Right. Perfect. Nadine, if you were called by the Prime Minister to give 3 recommendations to solve or to reduce domestic abuse, what would those be?
They need to implement the National Strategic Action Plan that prevents gender-based violence that the government launched in 2017, that is owned by the Minister of Gender, Culture, Entertainment and Sports. They also need to put 2019, the government signed into effect the changes to the Sexual Offences Act, the Domestic Violence Act, the Offences Against the Persons Act, and the Child Care and Protection Act. They need to put a date to that and see when those laws will be acceded. And then we need to just do more public education and the National Strategic Action Plan against gender-based violence addresses a lot of these things. We need to engage in more public conversations about a number of these issues, including this one.
Right. Well, we are doing our part in terms of having a conversation. As small as it is, we are doing our part. Michael, what say you? If the government were to ask you for 2 recommendations, what would those be?
Well, first of all, I would say, as Nadine said, legislation. But I'm putting a but. We have a lot of legislation in this country, and we don't see it, the problems we're having. They are not being diminished.
Enforcement.
Right. Unless we have that enforcement. Just the legislation is not going to be enough. And as a society, I'll be honest with you, as a society, social issues, we don't take them seriously, right? Next thing I would say that, as I have been pushing all night, education, right? Society, having society be the guardian also. But our society, as we have it right now, Chopper, is not ready for it. Because did you listen? Did you listen in that clip you played earlier? All those women who was pushing.
Yes.
So them the people now cannot be the persons who will help with this issue. They are more igniting this issue. So we have to educate them, as Hermelin said. Educate the society also into understanding. And one look upon Chopper. I hear everybody talking about we are having the residual effects of slavery. You know, a lot of times we have this conversation. There's no mention of what men went through in slavery that could cause men to be acting out the way. There's not that conversation, and we need to look at that.
There is a book, you see, that was written called Equal Under the Whip. You see, in 1865, you know what they did to the pregnant women? They cut out a hole in the ground and beat them.
True.
They were beaten equally and they had to work just as hard. Women were treated, black women weren't treated any differently from black men. So black people went through a particular kind of cruelty.
Black men were emasculated.
And black women were raped and their sexuality was exploited.
Right, and
we all went through it.
And that is why we should work together, because we went through it together. Yeah,
Nadine.
Together, Nadine.
No one is more important than the other. We all go through stuff.
Exactly,
Even the Willie Lynch doctrine, you will know how you see how they emasculated men and what the women had to look at, and I think that doctrine is still a part in our society today.
Yes. Well, guys, let me first say thank you to Hermelin for joining us. Short notice, and you came through. Same thing for Nadine. Thank you so much. You left us with a nice quote, Nadine. Make men great again. I will keep that one.
That will be my mantra.
That will be my mantra.
Make men, yes.
Make men great again.
But remember, say you had Trump in the process. You know, remember who originally make America great again and what he meant by it. I mean, I don't know if you want to associate yourself with that doctrine.
Not the man himself, but the actual phrase make a lot of sense, because I think men need to come back to being responsible and being head of the household. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Thank you for having
Michael,
me.
thank you. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you
We look forward.
Michael.
Thank you, and we'll do it again. Thank you, Nadine.
All right.
Thank you, Hermelin.
Thank
you, Michael. All right, so there you have it, folks. That was another marathon discussion. Well-needed one. Looking at gender violence, looking at domestic violence, domestic dispute, and how it affects the cause and effect in Jamaica. Thank you all for joining us. Peter Starboy, I see you. Navi Sue, you are in the building. Grace Bailey is in the building. Thank you guys for joining us again. Next week, same time, same place, we will have with us Dr. Herbert Gale will be here next week, and he will come with numbers, data, to push back on some of these arguments that just came out. So next week, same time, same place, Sunday at 7:30, Dr. Herbert Gale will be right here in the hot seat, and we will have a good discussion. Ali Buckner, big up yourself. Patroy Seal, big up yourself. Paula, I see you in the building. Nice to see you, Angela McKay. Good to see you. Thank you guys for sharing, telling your neighbors, telling your friend that the Chaplain Black has been back with full effect. Paul Steele, I see you. You're in the building. My good friend Greg, big up yourself. Rena, my cuz, how you doing, my darling? Good to see you. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, tell your uncle, auntie, uncle, nephew, niece Next week, Sunday, live on the block. We'll be back. JJ Mack will be back. Jardine Taylor will be back. Barbara Buchanan will be back in full effect. Karen Brown, my sister, how you doing? Good to see you. Dr. Herbert Gale will be here next week. Delwar Dobney. Mr. Dobney, how you doing, my brother? Next week, same time, same place. Live on the block with Dr. the man himself, Dr. Herbert Gale. He's going to give us some real hard data on what are some of the causes, what are some of the effects, what we think we knew, but we didn't know. Next week, same time, same place. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who shared. Cornell 1, big up yourself. Colin Flores, big up yourself. And everybody, anybody I missed, Ian, big up yourself, my brother. And anybody I missed, please, please don't get my head, eh? But enough love, loads of respect. Same time again next week, as we say, peace. Share the thing. We're out.